Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Red Dragon. If you're looking for a serious video, then you've come to the wrong place, because this is not one of those videos. In this game, I decided to sit back and have some fun. And I had some fun with artillery. You're going to see me rack up a ludicrous score with 0 losses. So yeah, I spoiled that over there. I'm gonna throw in some sound effects because this game was just too ridiculous to take seriously. It's a 10v10 on floods, so there should be no shortage of targets. We start out with, I think, about 500 points. So my units for starters are going to be 2 fobs, 2 ATACMs, 1 paladin, 2 patriots, and a couple of resupply units to keep those patriots going. I was very fortunate to have my whole team with me. I had Martijntje over here, Sparky, One-Eyed Penguin, General Thunder, Sivraj, and I think that was the extent of my team, but I could be mistaken. And since those guys took the front line, I was able to do massive amounts of damage. And this is down to 2 things. 1, I didn't have to hold the front line. And 2, I had about 5 extra pairs of eyes who said, hey, here's a high value target, can you kill that? Hey, here's an incoming aircraft, can you kill that? And it just kept it up like that. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to be throwing in some sound effects just because they're applicable and because they're going to be funny. So I hope this video is going to make you cringe at the level of damage that I can do without taking a single hit. And that is going to give you a good laugh at the amount of damage that I'm able to rack up. Now, initially, as you can see, we're all just moving into position. There are a lot of units on the map, so I'm very happy I have this filter where it just says my units. So I can see that I don't have to worry about everything else. As I mentioned, I don't have too much starters. I'm just going to provide AA and ATACMs and some paladin support. I have a CV here in the back so that other guys can focus on capturing some other sectors. And here is the first bit of artillery coming in right now. They're firing at a general direction of Sparky's forces. Sparky didn't take kindly to that, but fortunately he was able to pinpoint where those units were. They came in from over here, from Mike. Now you might have already seen this in the teaser that I released just yesterday. I'm just waiting for an attack marker to come up, because I did see the cloud of MLRS come in, but I wasn't quite sure where to fire back at. Fortunately, it doesn't take an awful lot of time before that attack marker comes up, because these things are presenting themselves as a target. And the enemy player was, well, not smart enough to relocate their artillery. Right about now, there should be a marker going up. And the ATACMs should start loading. Or, well, it's already loaded. It should start aiming. This is the target where we're going to be looking. I think the second salvo is about to begin as it's going to hit this area. Now, gameplay-wise, of course, it's going to be a really boring match because there's just nothing going on as far as I'm concerned. My units are just there to support. They're just there to provide AA and counter battery when I see fit. There you go. That's the storm of MLRS. That's 5 units. ATACMs launching. Aiming at the location. Fires. Let's track this missile. And this is something that I have already put up, so you might recognize this part from yesterday. Now for the moment I'm just ignoring everything else that's going on. But watch what happens in the next couple seconds, because this is glorious. Mark my score, no points.
Did you think I'd forgotten you? Perhaps you hoped I had.
Well, I hadn't. 400 points, and Venius, who is the operator of these 4 artillery units, immediately surrenders. So, with firing 1 shot, just 1 shot from an ATACMs, I made somebody quit the game. Which is just disgusting that that's even possible. Now, the next bit is going to be waiting for a valid target. At the moment there is no shortage of targets, but they're all not that high value. So I'm really waiting for something to pop up so that I can actually fire at it. In the meanwhile, I'm getting my Patriots a little bit closer to the fight, because the fight seems to be rapidly developing forward. And while the Patriots have good range, they're not that good. So I need to get them a little bit closer in order for those things to be effective as an anti-air unit. There we go, Venus has left the game. Now we had some red units on the left flank. These were being engaged by Martijntje Gato and I think a Taro, was it? A Tunero. A Nighthawk is coming in to support Sparky's forces over here, and One-Eyed Penguin. This bridge was heavily fought over. But so far, I couldn't really do that much useful stuff, with the exception of, again, bringing my Patriots closer, trying to get threatening, or try to provide a threat to all of those aircraft. And trust me, there's going to be no shortage of those. In the meanwhile, the Paladin lights up. Because the Paladin, at this point, was the only unit that I could reasonably use to provide some artillery support at this bridge. Of course, my damage is going to be limited, but as long as I can stun or weaken the units that are coming over this bridge, then that should take a little bit of the pressure off of the guys in the town and in this forest. Now again, my Patriots are out of position. I should have moved them up a little while ago, because at this point, the enemy aircraft are going to be coming in. And they're going to be veering off right about here when they drop their payload. And that is too far away for my Patriots to be useful. So I'm relocating them, trying to find a more useful position. In the meanwhile, I'm bringing in a second Paladin to provide further fire support and make sure that that bridge is getting an even heavier pounding than it already is. And for some reason, these guys were keeping all of their vehicles and infantry spotted and stationary. So they were making it really, really easy for me. Now SU-27 comes in. I'm not exactly sure what he's even going for, but it seems to be the Abrams, and he does nail it this time. We're going to see that jet again. And the next time it comes in, it goes for a different target, which turned out to be a bit of a weird choice. Now, IL-102. I'm trying to get the Patriots into position, but I noticed the IL-102 too late. I'm only firing at it now. Firing one, firing two, the first missile hits, the second one does not, and the IL-102 gets out unharmed. Well, it gets out, but not exactly unharmed. In the meanwhile, I'm noticing that there is further artillery coming in. So, let's see if the ATACMs can take care of those things as well. The problem is, I don't know if the enemy is moving these things around, yes or no. So for the moment, I'm assuming that they are. But I know that there's at least one of them that's stationary. And this ATACMs has already noticed. The ATACMs is loading up, aiming in the general direction. A missile away, and you know what's coming. I just don't know how many points it's going to give me, because I know that there is at least one artillery unit at that position in or near that town. Which I think is a bit of a curious position, since if you're stuck behind a building, you're not really going to be moving out fast. So, here comes the missile. What's the target? And more importantly, how valuable is the target? Well, the target turns out not to die in the first shot. And I only sent one. So for the moment, this artillery unit is going to stay alive. In the meanwhile, Red keeps sending in additional aircraft. And I know that there are occasional flyovers of seed aircraft, so I have to be really careful with what I shoot and when I light up those Patriots. Because the moment they get detected by seed, there's a very good chance that I lose a 120 point Patriot, and I would rather not. Because once it's gone, I cannot replace it. Now all the fighters are coming rather close, but just not close enough for me to actually be useful. So, time to once again move up the Patriots and the supply units and try to keep them close to the fight. In the meanwhile, I notice that there is an awful lot of artillery coming out from over here. Seems to be mortars. And what do we say to the mortars? We wait for an exact position. You try to read what the enemy's doing. Is he in fact keeping the mortars over here? If so, there's a good chance that it's a trend. and that the behavior stays that way. And that, yep, once again, they're still firing from this position. So once again, readying the Patriots, readying the ATACMs. And I am draining this fob rather quick. Let's see, did I already send out that missile? See, this is, yep, there it is. This is why I don't cover artillery games that much, because it is quite hard to see what it's firing at and when exactly I launch. In the meanwhile, I did shoot down a 180-point aircraft. Of course, the Patriots didn't do all the work. There was a chaparral here. There were further anti-air units supporting me. But my Patriots got credited with the kill. Once again, the mortars fire from the exact same position. And that's about to end. That's just too easy. Attack marker going up on me, saying, hey, I just killed 3 mortars over there, and that should allow my allies on the left to take a little bit less damage. And with those mortars out of the way, they might be able to push up. SU-25T comes in with an IL-102 in tow. Silverage flies in with all of his F-16s, with his F-16 and the Tomcats from TCS-1. Kills off the SU-25. The IL-102 unfortunately does not get close enough to the Patriots. So I'm going to have to get a little closer, and to be honest, I was happy that I didn't actually use these, because at the moment, there was a seed aircraft flying over. The seed aircraft just had to get a little closer. And at the moment, if it turns towards me, I'm in trouble. If it does not, if it turns away, then I might be able to shoot it down. So the Patriots are moving. Here comes the risk. Am I going to turn it on, yes or no? Because it is still out there. Here comes the SU-27M, and at this point we wonder, what the hell are you trying to kill? He goes for an M1IP and proceeds to get knocked out of the sky by the Patriots. So that was a little bit...
This is too easy.
Exactly. Now, the MiG-25BM is still operational, but it's not being that aggressive, and it has been ordered to leave the area. Tomcat tries to get some missiles in, doesn't actually do any damage. So, at the moment, I'm already sitting at 1,300 points. That was 400 points from the initial artillery strike. A couple, I think about 150 or 165 points from over here. I killed a 200-point jet, and it just keeps racking up. 1,300 points. And the battle has only just begun. We're just 12 minutes in. And that's the ludicrous part that you can do with artillery. Now, I try to keep shuffling these guys around, the ATACMs and the Paladin, because if there is an enemy artillery player who's paying some attention, then there is a good chance that I will be receiving counter-battery fire. So I don't really want that to happen. Interestingly, I don't need to use artillery only, because the enemy just keeps sending in additional aircraft. For the moment, I'm once again focused on this town, because once again, I see artillery positions lighting up from this area. So, the ATACMs, the Paladins are already firing, but they're firing at the bridge if I'm not mistaken. They're firing at the units over here. Unfortunately, the KA-52 provided an interesting target, but was not stationary for long enough. So instead of going after it with ATACMs, I tried to go after a target that's next to it, because there was a ace spotted over there. Some damage, and there you go, that's another 85 points. At this point, 1,385. My Patriots do take some artillery fire, probably being detected by the KA-52. Fortunately, they make it out alive. So I can get these guys back, I can heal them up with the Super Chinooks and the HLVWs, and keep these guys in the fight. Current score, 1470. IL-102 on approach. The Patriots, though, are panicked. One is panicked, one is shaken. The chances of me shooting this thing down, well, they're not going to be that good. But if it flies in like that, I might as well try. So I send out a missile. Again, damage the IL-102, put it out of the fight for a little bit, but not long enough. Do we have further ATACM shots? At the moment, I don't really think so. But then again, the battle is only just 13 minutes old. a lot can happen in 13 minutes. As I'm healing up my Patriots, I'm also bringing in 2 ATACs. One coming in from over the right, one over the left. Because I noticed that the enemy seems to be quite happily operating with their K-52s and their Mi-28s. Those are definitely a big threat to our units over here. So those need to go. And my ATACs with 3,325 meter range have a good shot at actually killing those things off. Now I gotta keep switching back over here to see if the ATACMs are actually firing. Because I cannot, for the life of me, remember what exactly I was shooting at. So, I'm not going to be paying too much attention to the front line. Sort of, to see where my targets are likely going to be. But I know that I'm not firing at any of these units anytime soon. Now, I think that there's further artillery coming out of that town. Did I just launch? No, not yet. Although there is another, yep, 1, 2, 3. I might have noticed that. Yep, ATACMs is loading up. These units. Some people really hate them, some people really love them. I'm somewhere in the middle. I hate to be on the receiving end of these things. I like using them. I think they're a little cheesy, but they're being balanced by, in my opinion, a very high supply cost. And not just that, you're also looking at a lot of resupply or reloading time. Missiles still traveling. You can see I'm bypassing all of these targets over here and instead going for the artillery. And wait for it. Boom! 255s. Exactly. 2 more mortars are assumed down. Now with that, we're starting to push towards the enemy. You can see that Penguin is making really good use of smoke. And he's not the only one. Martijntje is also pushing up through the smoke with a Leopard 2. We're trying to keep additional units close to this fight. With the smoke, they can pretty freely move around this field, darting in and out of the smoke cover. Again, gonna check. Yep, ATACMs is loading up. And fires. Let's see what we hit today. I'm already at 1,580 points, and I still really don't have any frontline units. I'm more of a secondary line at the moment with the Patriots and the ATATs. And even then, the Patriots so far have only killed 1 target. Now, here comes the missile. This time I'm going for, I think, something in the back. Yeah, and I do not hit anything this time around. Because the target was already gone by the time that the missile actually got there. Alright, again, no shortage of targets, but no high value threats. Now at this point, the Mi-24 Whiskies are posing to be quite a threat. So it's time for the ATATs to move up and make their presence known. Because those ATATs can shoot down the Mi-24s before they kill off the Leclerc. And I really want to help One-Eyed Penguin over here, because that Leclerc is doing a lot of work and is one of the most useful tanks in an area like this, where you have a lot of open terrain and you have a fast tank with a good amount of rate of fire. ATATs are moving into position. They're a little low on fuel, but I still might be able to get them. Come on. Shots out, and that is 2 more helicopters. Just another 170 points. Currently 1855. At this point, I'm once again getting an ATACMs ready. Unfortunately, the ATACMs, this one, Robinson, is reloading and is currently unavailable. The other one I had too far away from the fob, and it was relocating to the next fob because I already went through 16,000 points. So while there was a target, I just couldn't fire at it at the moment. At this point, some of my units do come under attack. They know the position of my resupply units. Thankfully, they don't actually kill them, but not by much. Both of these are down to 1 hit point. The other supply trucks are coming under attack. The Patriots have taken some damage. So once again, it's time to relocate and get somewhere a little safer. Making sure that I keep these high value units alive and that I keep my supply units around to keep these guys fed. I'm not just keeping my own units fed, I am a support deck, so I try to keep flying in additional Chinooks, and sometimes you see those things landing and flying back. Here's another Chinook or two coming in, just to keep these guys on the front line operational. Score, currently 1855. At the moment, the Paladins and the ATACMs are at rest. There is no high value threat detected, so there's not really anything that I need to be firing at. Further aircraft are coming in, L-19s. Unfortunately for me, they have long-range missiles and they don't really need to get too close to my Patriots or my ATATs. So, these two, for the moment, escape. And look at this. A T-72BU double stack. So, ATACMs readying. This ATACMs was actually ready to fire. He launches one. And I suppose by now you could call this a foregone conclusion. Because what the ATACMs does is murder high value targets. What those two T-72BUs do not do is move around. And Brendryen is saying ATACMs incoming. I'm not actually firing yet, because I think that missile hit something else. Yep, I just destroyed a Ka-52. The other ATACMs was reloading, that's why I haven't fired it yet. There it is. There it is. That's the missile. You get one guess.
Deliver an ordnance.
And goodbye to two of your super heavies for the total price of 175 points per unit, meaning 350 points in one shot. That's what the ATACMs does. Again, the Patriots not being too useful. The ATATs are not good enough at range to be killing off the aircraft because they just keep outside of the 26-25 meter range for the ATATs. So unfortunately, again, no air kills. But that's about to change. IL-102 comes in. I'm not sure why these guys keep flying in aircraft like this. What do they expect to happen? It's just more or less pointless. Because you're trying to bomb, well, pretty high value tanks. You should be able to get the Bradleys with an IL-102. But the M1A1, the Leopard 2A5, not really. It's not likely to happen. Again, a couple of support units come under attack. This time being attacked is One-Eyed Penguin. Unfortunately not my units, but I do try to keep these mortars going because these guys are keeping the tanks up front alive. Do we have further ATACMs targets? Not really, I think. There is still some artillery coming out of Foxtrot. The exact location is unknown, and I think that by now I have killed off quite some high value targets. I'm keeping the ATATs close to this push, trying to be as useful as possible, and once again, the IL-102 tries to make a move. This time around, it's not going to get so lucky, because it is already being chased down by aircraft. Unfortunately, it is being covered by a whole lot of others. And again, the ATATs not quite in range. That 26-25 meter range is, well, problematic for what I'm trying to shoot down. Red comes back with an offensive. Lots of units. Artillery as well. MiG-25 BMs. The MiG-25 BM is about to turn around. And at that point, unless I'm mistaken and thinking of a different game, the Patriot will shoot them down. Now, since the mortars are mostly empty, I'm now using my Paladins to put up large puffs of smoke over here, just to keep the tanks over here safe. Because once again, it's the Leclerc, it's the M1A1, there was a Leo 2A5, but I'm afraid that thing went down. Trying to get some artillery on targets over here. You can see that I'm hitting stuff because there's sparks flying off. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Actually, is that even my artillery? I don't want to be claiming credit for units which are not actually mine. No, they're Ogma's Caesars. Those are the ones that are currently firing. Now, there's a whole lot of tanks coming in. They're not high value. They're just T-55 Dynas. These things are not that much of a threat, especially not for the Leclerc. But they are numerous. And the Leclerc, while it's a good tank, cannot operate alone. So, I'm trying to find a group of T-55 Dynas which are sitting still. And Robin, with 4 T-55s in a stack, seems to be happy to oblige. So, the ATACMs, this is the Paladins. There is another missile which is going for these T-55s because I was running out of other targets which were stationary long enough for the ATACMs to be useful. Come on, boys. The Paladins are still firing. More or less firing to keep the units over here alive and suppress whatever else they had coming over this bridge. But keep in mind that the even with this the high traveling speed of shells, it still takes them quite a while. And once again the ATACMs fires. By this point, by the way, most of Red 4 had quit. I think it was just one guy left. We had 10,700 points versus 6690 for them. But watch what happens here. This is interesting. There are 4 T-55 Dynas detected. Here's the missile. But it's about to get interesting.
And the butchery begins.
Butchery begins, but I find a 170 point tank hidden amongst the trees. So I take out 3 T-55s and 3 T-55s for 65 points each and 170. And that is pretty much the last shot that I fire. Aside from that, we have just a couple of seconds left on this game. And it's just over. The last guy has nothing left and decides to surrender. And there you have it. This is absolutely disgusting. But when I was looking at the results screen, I just thought... This is... what the hell? Let's walk through the kill list. ATACMs. First shot. 4 RM70s. That caused that first player to quit. Another shot killed off a couple of 2 S1s Carbohydrates. A couple of T-55 Dynas. This was that last salvo that I showed you, and the Vihor that was somehow hidden between those trees also got hit in the impact. The other ATACMs murdered 1 MSTAS, 2 Carbohydrates, a couple of T-72 BUs, that was the double kill, and a K-52. These are all very high value units. Paladins were responsible for killing off a couple of high value books, the Book M1s. As I mentioned, the Patriots didn't do that much, but they did shoot down a T-72, an SU-27 PU, an IL-102, and an SU-27M. And since these things are very hard to replace, the enemy definitely felt the loss of those. The other Paladin didn't really do that much, but I wouldn't be surprised if these things, because they were firing at the same target, worked together and this guy softened up targets so that the other Paladin could get the kill. 1 ADATs got a double kill on MA-24 Whiskies, and there is no losses section. Nothing whatsoever. So,
this is too easy.
Yeah, that's what you get when you're playing artillery. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting game. I had very little, if any, skin in this game, because I was just sitting back, sniping high-value shit. But I wasn't playing that serious. I was just looking for a laid-back Wargame match. And this is what you get if you just play Arty. Keep in mind, it's playing Arty with the ATACMs, not with a quad stack of RM70s and hoping that you hit something. I was going very specifically for targets that I reasonably expected were not moving. And in fact, they were not moving. Again, big shout out to the rest of my team, because if these guys had not pushed the way that they did, I wouldn't be able to actually pull off a result like this. I was able to do this because other guys were marking targets for me, They were pointing out stuff that I would be interested in or interesting in firing at. And they held the front line. They took the losses so that I could focus on providing arty and Patriot support. Again, just...
And the butchery begins.
I couldn't leave that quote from Underwood out of there. Anyway, that's it for today. Disgusting video on Thursday. I have some more serious videos coming up soon. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Cringed, laughed, whichever it is. And let me know which one it turned out to be down below in the comments. See you soon.